Hey guys, it's Wes from Animation Toolkit. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, and today we're doing puppet maintenance number 2. Just take these off. Woo! Puppet maintenance number 2. So we've already explained that stop motion animation does require puppet maintenance. Your puppets will break from time to time. I say break, they just need a little bit of care and attention. So don't throw them in the bin. The best option is to try and fix what you've got and then get those puppets back into set so you can start shooting again. So this seems to be quite a common problem. Here's our puppet. He's headless, but he's a little bit limp. We can see here that his hip joint has failed him. So unfortunately in this situation, it's a bit of a redo. So puppets come off set from shooting. We've unzipped the back. With your puppets, you're gonna have to really access that hip joint and or the shoulder joints. You might be having some problem with the shoulders as well. Those shoulders might be a little bit limp. So unfortunately, we're gonna strip him down. We're gonna take all of his costume off, take all the wadding out the back, and get down to the nitty gritty of that armature and see what's going on with the hip. Right, I'm not gonna waste too much time. I'm gonna jump straight into the booth. We'll get you in there and you can see what's going on. Okay. Right, off we go then into the booth. Completely strip the puppet down of all of its costume and all of its wadding or foam, the body basically of the puppet. And we can already see that these hips are quite loose, so the chances are that those balls were never put on properly in the first place. And the shoulders are quite loose as well, so we just need to look at trying to fix those immediately. See what we can do to resolve this problem. It's quite simple. I'm going to take the legs off initially. I'm pretty confident it's not the problem with the joint, it's definitely the ball. So just using my fingers there, you can see that this ball is loose. So the thread lock never cured properly on this puppet, which is a little bit disappointing. So we can fix that. The same with this as well. So it's definitely not the joint there that's failing. It's the ball that's loose on the end of the bone bar. So there's no other way, unfortunately, guys. You just have to strip it down, take away all of the bits that we don't need. There we go, and then obviously the last right leg. Stripping him down to his component parts. It hurts sometimes to strip a puppet back this far, but in extreme cases, unfortunately, this is the only way to do it. As you can see, definitely all of those key component balls on the hips and the shoulders are loose, and that one is basically unscrewed in my hand. That one too. I'm just going to grab a pair of pliers actually to help me out here. You'll notice that I've wrapped these pliers in a bit of electrical tape, and that's just to protect the teeth so that we don't score the balls, we don't leave any scratches on the balls. So that electrical tape, you can use masking tape or you could tape in a little bit of foam or something there really, but just make sure you don't scratch the balls as they're taking them off. Just for a bit of access, going to take the neck off as well there. There we go. So whiz this one off again. Now in this case, these balls are completely recyclable. In extreme cases, you might find that the glue, you use so much of the Loctite, they completely gunked up all of the threads. You can clean threads off with a bit of wire wool or a wire brush. So this hip proving a little bit more tricky than the others. It's definitely loose. I think because the Loctite on this one is semi-cured, so it almost got there, but not 100%. Okay, so we've basically stripped it down to its chassis. Those threads, as I say, they can be cleaned up with a bit of wire wool or a wire brush if you need to. But don't forget your pliers, wrap the pliers in tape and get hold of that Loctite. Now just making sure here that those bone bars are tight into the to the T-bone, which they are, they're really tight. They were previously Loctited up. Grab your Loctite. Now use this liberally as well, don't use it like super glue, just a tiny bit. Make sure that all of the thread is completely covered. and then begin the process of reworking those balls back onto the bone bars. I'm going to wipe away any excess Loctite there. And then I'm going to take the pliers, and this is not a super tight, I'm just nipping them into position. Basically just want them to feel just a little bit tighter than I can get them with my fingers. So just nipping them up very gently there. And what that's causing is a bit of compression. A compression between the thread, both the female and the male thread. And that's the most important thing, that's what we're trying to aim for here, getting the compression right. When you've got that compression right, it causes a chemical reaction in the Loctite, and it will start to expand. And that's what keeps those balls into position, because the Loctite has expanded. So repeated the process, obviously again on the left shoulder, and then just very gently nipping those balls into position. I'm not going to over tighten them, and be super careful that you don't pull any threads out of those aluminium T-bone bars, the red ones. And there we go, wipe away any excess. And then for the hips, exactly the same process for the hips. Make sure there's plenty of Loctite on there. Gently thread the balls back into position, and it's a process of screwing them on. Just go back and forth a few times with the ball, like this, making sure that that Loctite is all the way through the thread. And then again, just nip them up with your pliers. I'm not over tightening, it might look like I'm over tightening here. I'm just being super careful not to go too tight. I don't want to strip any of those threads. And then the same on the left side of the hip. So plenty of Loctite on there. Take the last ball, thread it onto the thread. Just going to work it on and off, back and forth a few times. Make sure that that thread lock is between all of those threads, and then very carefully just nip up, not over tighten with those pliers. And there we have it. Clean it up to finish. Don't forget guys, dead important, leave that armature now to cure for at least 12 hours, preferably 24 hours in a warm place. The warmth will help the chemical reaction of that Loctite between the metal expand and form a resin. There we have it. You just got to put the armature back together and then redress and get the puppet back onto set. So guys, that was fixing your hip joints and your shoulder joints. I hope it was of some use to some of you. Follow all of those rules and all of those practices as best as you can. Just remember, I've already mentioned it in the film, that the thread lock does need to cure for about at least 12 hours, preferably 24 hours. And that's because the thread lock, when it's tightened into position, starts to expand and form a resin. It needs 12 hours of 24 hours ideally. There's a train again, sorry. 24 hours to cure properly. So that resin, what it does, it starts to expand between the threads of the balls, and it will crystallize as it has a chemical reaction between the two metals as they twist together, and they will solidify and make an unbreakable bond if everything's done correctly. So guys, good luck. I hope this puppet maintenance video's fixed your problems, and we'll see you on the next one.